Paul Ragsdale, Lyle Stokes, and Chuck Davidson. This week we're talking about baits and tackle, or not bait, I'm sorry, tackle and gear. We're going to start it off with Lyle. He's going to tell us about the Twisted Cat tournament and the results of that. So Lyle, go ahead.
All right, guys. Glad to see everybody on tonight. We had a Twisted Cat outdoor tournament yesterday at Columbia Bottoms. A small turnout on a cold day. We had 14 boats. We did have some pretty nice fish turned in. Jason Mathena and Han Frockenstock turned in a winning weight of 166.9 pounds on a 3-fish limit, with winning the big fish weight of 80.3 pounds was a new record for the Twisted Cat Outdoor tournaments, and personal best for Hans, so congratulations on that. Second place went to a really nice guy, Chris Morrow, caught 105.9 pounds on a 3-fish limit. That's, for starting out at 26 degrees, that's a pretty good weigh in itself. And Justin Wolf and Eric Rhoda, 79.8 pounds, and they had a 50-plus pound fish for a big fish. It was a really beautiful day. After the day got going, the sun come out, everybody had a wonderful time. The river, of course, Missouri's always got a lot of current, but it wasn't too bad yesterday, and nobody went over to Mississippi. The ice was real bad floating down as they'd opened up all the dams and pushed the river out. But those are some pretty nice fish for a January or a February tournament. And while I'm here, I'd like to mention the fact that in Warsaw, Missouri, the 9th of March, we'll be having a tournament down there. It is Kansas City Catfish. Greg Kilpatrick puts on a really nice show. We're expecting a huge turnout down there, and we need everybody that's interested in fishing to make sure that they go down there to show the naysayers on this conservation effort that they're wrong. The tournament fishermen don't mind having the slot limits. We're going to have tournaments. We're going to fish tournaments, and we're going to catch big fish regardless.
All right, so getting on to the topic of the night, gear, tackle. That first place team with 160 pounds.
166.9.
166 pounds. That was on Barbie poles with 4-pound line and hot dogs as bait, right?
No, I don't think so.
Pink marshmallows.
I'm not sure what they was using. I didn't really ask them, but for the most part, skipjack and shad was pretty much the bait of choice for yesterday.
What kind of, on the Missouri River, what kind of, the Mississippi, whatever, where is it that you're fishing over there?
Well, where we fish have the tournaments are right at the confluence where the Missouri drops into the Mississippi, but like I say, they had the dams open on all the dams up the Mississippi River as far as Quincy and Keokuk, trying to flush the ice that stacks up behind the dams, and there was just huge amounts of ice coming down the river, so I know nobody went over there. There was a couple of guys who went down to the confluence, but they didn't go out in it. It was just too rough. But everybody fished the Missouri yesterday, and we had suspected that the fish would be in the holes behind the wing dikes and stuff, and there was some fish caught there, but they had actually kind of changed and moved out of there with the warm weather up into some shallow flats and stuff.
So, what kind of weight do you think people were using out there during that?
We was using 8s and 10s yesterday. We wasn't in any heavy current. Cindy and I fished, like I say, we was planning on them being still in the winter holes, and we was using 8 and 10s and could have probably got away with some 6s. Now out in the main current, I'm sure they was using anywhere from 8 to 16, depending on the amount of current they had and where it was at. I didn't really ask a bunch of questions them guys. When you're running in tournaments, it's kind of hard to get all the questions and stuff asked that you want to, but they had I know Chris had told me that he had like 18 fish in the boat, was culling really early, and that was 11 o'clock. He told me he caught that many, and they just was laying them out. If you was in the fish yesterday, you was really catching them, and if you wasn't in them, then you caught some maybe or maybe not, but most everybody got into some fish.
All right. Did you have any specific topics on the bait or gear, or do you want me to go on to Paul and?
Well, the only thing I know is right now, like on the Lake, the Ozarks and Truman Lake, there is a huge shad kill down there. And I think that's affecting the bite on those two lakes right now after the ice out. There's just shad that's dead all over the lake, and that doesn't mean there's not shad to be caught. There is still bait to be caught. But there is a huge shad kill, and that's going to affect the bite on those fish down there because they can gorge up on all they want, and they don't have to take a piece of cut bait when they got just tons of dead whole shad laying there to get. So in 2 weeks when that tournament takes off, that'll be gone. It'll be a different situation. But on rivers right now, I think shad and skipjack, they're natural baits for the waters, and that's going to be stuff that you need to be concentrating on. Shad seems to work really good for me in cold weather. So I don't think that you can take skipjack to lakes where they don't never have or never see them and expect to do really good. That doesn't mean you won't catch them on there. I just think that the natural baits for the water will be better off being used in a lake that you're fishing. So if shad's a predominant bait fish, that's what I'd be trying to put in my bait tank.
All right. Anything else on the gear part of it, or?
I wouldn't be wanting to use a rod with a real heavy tip right now. The current's down a little bit, although the rivers are rising. It'll be raging here before long with floods and stuff. But the blues was a little bit sluggish still yesterday at 41-degree water, and I would go to a medium fast tip so you didn't have a problem telling bait. But actually, the fish we caught yesterday was pretty aggressive on our boat anyhow. And but you'll get a lot of lighter bites, so I wouldn't be using a heavy action rod if I was planning on catching fish. I'd be using something in a medium or a light medium action. I might even downsize my hook a little bit to an 8/0 over a 10 or something, and suspend the bait just off the bottom. That's just my perspective.
Now, would you say for the action on the rods, is that something where there's like a one size fits all, or is that something where really, like you're talking about the bite, if you know the fish are really hitting hard and they're they're not light biting at all, you want a certain action tip over the other, or is there, like it said, like is there like a medium action kind of what you look for and use most of the time? Or
a medium heavy is a pretty good all around rod action. You can use them when they're light biting and get away with it pretty good. And also if they're slamming them down, and real aggressive, they'll hook up, and you got enough backbone in those rods to do you some good. Where I like to use the heavy action stuff is out in heavy current underneath dams and things like that. But right now, anything from medium heavy down should work really good, because a circle, people think that you need a certain kind of action on a rod. A circle hook's going to work whenever they get the stretch out of the line or whenever it gets tight. The circle hook's going to do its job. So if you're using circle hooks, it doesn't make any difference. If you're using stuff to set hooks, I like to go up one step above what I do with the circle hook. That way I got enough backbone and enough tip action to go ahead and put that hook in there deep enough to do some good.
And like a lighter tip action for the people that are doing the back bouncing to get a little more feel out of it. And
well, you need a medium heavy or heavy action. What I recommend is a heavy action for back bouncing. And most of us, there's some guys use circle hooks and some that use different hooks that you set. And with a medium heavy or heavy action, when one of them big blues take off trying to run across the river on you, you can lay it on them and get them stopped. The sensitivity of a good quality bouncing rod will get you to be able to feel the bite, but you got to have enough ass in it to get him woed up, or at least get the hook in him good.
All right.
What was the water temperature on the Missouri this week?
It was 40 degrees and 41 degrees in all the places we was at. When we took off, it was 39, but throughout the afternoon, the most I seen was just over 41, but most of us right around 40 degrees. And for end of February in Missouri, that's pretty good.
Did you have any flatheads brought in?
What's that?
Was there any flatheads brought in?
No.
No flatheads. No channel cat, all blues.
So what was the techniques most of the guys were using? Just anchoring?
Anchor fishing yesterday, yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, Paul, you want to go on to
Yeah, I don't have a lot, with the exception of we talked a couple weeks back about things that you need to do when you're out fishing, as far as if you got a medical history like diabetes and whatnot, and your partner's knowing about it and what to do and all that. The one thing I did forget was ice. And search and rescue teams and law enforcement, first responders are pushing an issue called ICE, in case of emergency is what it stands for. And you program that in your phone, and it gives information when they look at your contacts, and then they know who to call in case of emergency. And I think even the coroners have that. So if they find your phone, they're going to be able to figure out who they need to call. But let's see, and a reminder for the deadline to send in the keys for the February giveaway is noon Central on February 28th, 2014. And the March giveaway is going to be from Whisker Wear Apparel. And it's going to be your choice of a black and white hoodie. Those are listed on the Catfish Weekly website, so you can see which one is which. The giveaway will be the same type as February was, with the codes, and that's about all I really have, except the code, which I'll do here in a little bit. But
Okay. So basically, but in case of emergency, actually, my wife and I both have that in our phones, the ice. That's a good idea. And then I know Paul, myself, and I think even Lyle are all diabetics. So, and with me, I know that I fish with different people all the time. It is a good thing to let your partner know if you have a heart condition, if you're diabetic, what they can do if something happens. Just pretty much keep your health problems known, so you have the best chance.
I did have one more thing here, and I've just dawned on me because I had it written on a separate page. I see a lot of people on Facebook, and they're showing catfish, and then they put CPR. And I'd like to push the fact that if you're CPRing a fish, it is not wise to hold them up by the gills. That damages the gill plates. And in a fish, it's like being, or to you, it's like being punched in the lungs. It damages the fish's ability to breathe. And I just wanted to mention that because I've seen so many people holding up fish by the gills that said they were CPR'd.
Also, I'd go along with that also from what I've learned too. And this is, we're not judging people. We're just trying to get the best information out for people to be able to keep these fish as healthy as possible. So yeah, keeping your fingers out of the gills is good. Also, if you've got a fish that's 30, 40, 50 pounds plus, and you're pulling them up by just their lower jaws, that's also really bad on the fish as well. You want to support that body weight. It'd be like somebody grabbing you from your jaw and trying to lift you up. I mean, you've got all the rest of your body weight pulling on just your jawbone. So,
at my size, that's all you'd have picked up is just my jaw.
Yep.
Hey, Chris, one other thing on that ice deal, I'm not sure if my phone has that on there. Is that available to certain type of phone?
All you do is create a contact in your phone and name it ice. And,
okay.
And then put your the contact information in for whoever your emergency contact is. So
okay.
It's real easy to do. Anybody, you just create your contact and just name it ice, and they'll know exactly what that is when they go to look in your phone.
Okay. The other thing is, it's not just for lung issues or diabetes issues. I have a 5-pound restriction on my left shoulder, and I'm not allowed to lift hardly any weight with it. So, since that surgery, I have never had a giant fish on, like we used to catch. And whenever somebody that I crawl in a boat with them or they get in a boat with me and we happen to be out, I tell them right up front, if we get a giant on today and I'm having problems, you're going to have to help me. And any information like that you can pass on to a fishing partner about anything, you need to do that.
because I've fell out a couple times, and Justin always knew what to do, and he'd get the carbohydrates in me to get me jacked back up, so we'd come back in.
Right.
They're just for anything, but the ice number is for anybody, including anybody that's got a cell phone. You know, if you end up with a car crash or something like that, unpredictable, at least law enforcement have something to go on.
Yeah, I think the older phones,
Absolutely.
like they still have them
I
out
think
there. The flip phones and stuff, I think they actually have a key that says ice, and you program that key. I'm not sure if it's the pound key or whatever, but I've seen some newer flip phones that actually have a key that has ice beside them. But not
they
on the
haven't
new.
they haven't pushed pushed it a lot to advertise it, so a lot of people really don't know. And I was on a search and rescue team, so we were aware of it. But you have to promote something if you want it to get out. And
That's right.
today I figured I'd just mention it. So.
All right, so Chuck, do you have anything to throw in here?
Not really. It's just I'll see a lot of these people doing catch and release videos and photos. If you have more than 2 people in the boat and you need one person to video, get some help with those big fish when you're putting them back, because they can get away from you really quick and damage yourself. And it don't look bad and make you look sissy, like if you need a little bit of help easing the fish off into the water. Anytime I got multiple people on the boat, after I get my photo taken, I say, hey man, help me get this fish back in so we can, get him revived and let him go. And that's the best way to handle them.
Yeah.
And then if you've got your live well in the front of the boat, take it really easy when there's larger swells and larger waves, because they bounce around a lot in those live wells mounted on the front decks, the 100-gallon stock tanks and stuff. A lot of people's not, privileged enough to have, nice boats with, big live wells in the rear, which give a better ride for the fish. But, I've seen some guys, cut out across the lake with fish in their live wells, and then, when they get back to weigh-in, they don't look too healthy, because they're, that damages the fish a lot. Even though they're alive when you let them go, you don't know what's going to happen later when they, get on out in the lake and, they got internal damage and everything.
Good way to have about a foot of water come over the front of your boat too if you hit them swells.
All right, I'm going to talk about a few pieces of gear. Also, an announcement that in April we have just confirmed recently with Team Catfish, we're going to give away 2 bottles of Dead Red, probably twice every show. 2 winners of 2 bottles each. This is going to be during the April giveaway. We haven't completely decided on how we're going to do the contest, but we're most likely going to do something along the lines of maybe one winner for somebody that's watching live and in the chat with us, and then maybe one for posting a tag thing of Catfish Weekly on Facebook or something like that. But we'll give more information along the way here, and we'll post it on the website and everything. So on to some of the gear.
Hey Chris.
Yep.
We have a question here from the Google page, and I wanted to hit it real quick before you got detailed in that.
Okay.
Jeremy Gregg wants to know, what do you think about guys cranking in cats from the deep water? I see so many guys just bring them up quick. I think it's important to bring them up slowly to decompress.
It is. There's 2 parts to me. There's 2 parts of that. If you bring them up too slow and you wear the fish out too hard, you damage the fish possibly beyond bringing them back in that way. Also, in a deep water, you do have to watch for that. There's a couple different things that some guys do that I know of. I actually keep the hose, I don't know if it's 1/2-inch hose or whatever, and I can stuff it right down the gullet of that fish, and you'll hear it deflate, and it'll just deflate automatically. Other guys will leave the fish and sit it out on the deck of the boat for 2 to 5 minutes. Normally it doesn't take very long, but if that belly is hard, you know that he's got that air in there, and you need to get that air out. It's something that I don't like to leave them sitting out. I don't think the little hose doesn't hurt them to stick it down their throat and get it out. So that's my take on it. I don't want it to be too slow, and I don't want it to be too fast. So I try to get it up, and I try to watch for the bubbles and get let it get the bubbles out as it's coming up. But I also don't want to completely wear that fish down to no energy and have him not recover. So Lyle or Chuck can maybe expand on that.
We keep a piece of about 16-inch piece of PCV pipe in the boat, just plastic PCV pipe. I think it's 3/8 diameter, I believe is what it is, and that's what we use for cases like that. And I think it's a lot more detrimental to keep that to where you can get a hold of it in the summertime than in the wintertime. Now, I could be possibly wrong about that. It may make a difference in the winter, but I've never heard of anybody having any issues with fish because they're sluggish and they're already coming up slow in the winter. But in the summertime, we do that every time we have a fish that is really, really deep and it comes up. And you're right, if you notice when you touch them in the stomach, if it's really hard, you need to get that opened up to where they can get that air out of there and make sure that they're revived. Either put them in a live well with air bubbles going through it, oxygen or something, and as long as they're okay, then go ahead and get them back in the water and they'll be just fine.
Yep. Well, go ahead, Chris, on your stuff to chat, I guess. Your scale and
yeah. All right. First thing I'll talk about is life jackets on the boat. I know a lot of guys don't want to wear the big, ugly orange life jackets. May not know about what's out today. What all's available. This right here is very lightweight. They have these in a dual deployment type system. They either have the little red handle you might see down there that you can pull, and this will pop open, and you can wear it very easily. Like I said, over a jacket, under a jacket. It's something it's lightweight. You can wear all day, hot, cold, whatever, and it's there. Not going to be feeling like the big orange jacket. The other way that they have these, I think this one is just the manual, which is just that red plug there. The other way they have them is that when they get wet, they can automatically deploy. Only problem with that is if you get a big chunk of water over the boat and you have it sitting out or something like that, it might go off on you. So I wanted just the manual one. But life jackets, definitely when you're driving in the boat. Besides that, then it's up to you. I mean, I think more people should wear them. I should wear mine more than I do. Even when I'm not moving in the boat, should still have it on, especially on dangerous days. Any kids in the boat should always have their life jackets on. I think regardless of low water, anything, I think they should have their jackets on. So talking about big fish, Big Dave over at Bottom Dwellers has a new version of these, but they're called the Catfish landing net, or not a landing net, but a weigh sling, catfish slings. Now it's pretty big size here. You can see you can open it up, put the catfish in there, zips up on each end. There might be 2 or 3 different sizes of it. There used to be. The new versions actually have a handle right here, and it has a Bottom Dwellers. I think Dave at Bottom Dwellers will have these in stock right now. There's a handle right here, and you can put the fish inside there. I could probably fit a 100-pound fish in this. I think this is the medium, but I'm not positive. So you can put a good-sized fish in this, and you can use this to transport the fish from the boat over to the weigh area, or just to pick it up and weigh it if you want to weigh it, so that way you're not like sticking the scale in the fish's mouth and trying to hold him by his lip or anything like that. So They're really nice to have. I keep mine in the boat. They actually have in the middle. They break down so they're not this big. They actually come apart like tent poles do, and you can break it down. You know, cut it or not cut it in half, but bend it in half and then fold it all up and stick it in one of your storage compartments. But there's that. I keep that on my boat. The other thing I have, and these are harder to find now, but these are the Berkeley 100-pound digital scales. Both sides it has a digital LCD screen. Where you can find them now normally is in the UK. They normally cost about $75 to $100 to get shipped over to the US, price total with shipping and everything. It has the two handles, so you can pick a big fish up pretty easily with that, and then have the lighted LCD screen on both sides. So it makes a great scale. I mean, for a 100-pound scale, they're hard to find, and I believe those might even be about the closest you're going to find to a certified scale as well, from what I've heard. So those are the three gear and tackle type things that I wanted to talk about. See if I got some. No, I don't have any other questions, do we?
We just had one on the website.
How deep is deep? What depth should you start worrying about? Let's see.
Well, as a diver, I can tell you 30 feet at 30 minutes, you don't have to decompress coming up. So it would have to be.
I've never had a fish with any problems under 50 foot. When you start getting over 50 foot depths, you start noticing the belly. The deeper, actually, the harder the stomach will be on them. But anything in the 40 foot range, I've never had any issues with those.
Yeah, I believe this year I pulled a fish out of 85 foot of water. It was about a 35-pound blue. He was in 85 foot of water. He definitely needed to be decompressed. I put the tubing that I have in his throat down his throat, and it came right out. And you know, he was a healthy fish. So never started rolling to his side or anything like that.
How much was those weight slings from Dave's? I haven't looked. I know he's got them in now, but
I can look real quick here. Let me check.
I'm not sure how much they was, but for tournament guys, that's a really good option also. Like yesterday, you know, our tubs that we carry fish from the boat to the scales, they hold some pretty good fish, but when you're talking about 50, 60, 70, 80-pound fish, they don't fit in them tubs. I don't care whose tub it is. And those slings, you can put those fish in them slings, and two guys can carry them over. Because we weigh our big fish first. You put your big fish in the scale and weigh that baby, and then put your smaller fish on top of it. And 80-pound fish and stuff like that is exactly why Twisted Cat Outdoors has a 3-fish limit. Because most people, not that all people can't do it, but most people don't have live wells that could withstand 3 fish like that in a boat. And when they're catching fish, nobody wants to drive to the ramp to weigh them early unless they have to. You know, 3 fish is something that all tournament directors should start thinking about. I know out on the East Coast, a lot of those tournaments out there, they only have 2 fish limits. And I think that's something that these guys are going to have to address before long. Now, channel cat tournaments and stuff, and we do a lot of tournaments where there is channel cats mainly caught. And 5 fish, everybody can handle 20-pound channel cat. But when you go talk with 60, 70, 80 or more pound fish, they take up a lot of space in a live well. And those slings will handle them.
This is this week's code right here. And get that code sent to my email address. This is the last one for February before the March drawing. So make sure you
put that back up and pull it out a ways a little bit.
Okay, but right there.
All right, hang on a sec. Your video. Okay, the code is
refocusing.
The code is that. Okay, just make sure.
So all they have to do is get that sent to me. Send the key and the other 3 keys that I gave them. They need to send those to me before the 28th of this month, noon Central Time. If they're late, they just won't count. And then we'll do the drawing live. On a third party that I've got to pull the winner out. So the winner will be announced on the 2nd of March, I believe so.
And just quick, I want to let everybody know, like, again, that, you know, when we go over a subject, it's we try to keep the shows under 30, 45 minutes, so it's just impossible for us to really go into, you know, a ton of detail on every subject. So we might come over subjects multiple times and just try to bring something different to every show and trying to help out all level ranges of fishermen for catfish. So
especially if we forget something like ice.
yeah. So if everybody's pretty much done, I'll let everybody have a minute to sort of close out a piece, and unless anybody got anything else.
Yeah, I want to say congratulations to Doug Stange. He came down and fished with Jason Bridges and Wheeler Cat Guide Service this week on Wheeler Lake, and he caught his personal best 82-pound blue cat, which to be a lifelong cat fisherman like Doug Stange is, I know that means a lot to him. And I know it means a lot to Jason Bridges for being under that much pressure and being able to get it done. I just want to say congratulations to both of them.
Yeah, congrats.
Yippers.
Well, if you're down in that area, I think if you want to catch a monster fish and don't want to take a chance on going home empty-handed, if you're down around Wheeler Lake and you don't get a hold of Jason Bridges, don't blame anybody for not catching one, because he is the man down there.
Another quick note that tonight's show earlier on was planned with Doc Lang, and the subject was planned to be Everybody Starts Out New. We just have to push that back. Doc wasn't able to make it, and we definitely want to have Doc on that show. And as soon as we get confirmed with Doc when he'll be able to do it, we'll have it set in stone. Right now we put everything up, and then we might have to work things around, but we're doing what we can early off in the show, so just stick with us and we'll do what we can there. But I'll give everybody a minute now to start off with Chuck. You know, if you got a minute you want to talk about anything and close out.
No, I'm good.
All right, Lyle?
Well, I just want to congratulate again Hans Frankenstock and Jason Mathena for a great catch yesterday on 80-pound fish and winning the tournament. They did an outstanding job. Two great fishermen, fish a lot of tournaments, and they've really done good. And remind everybody not to forget Kansas City Catfish Tournament at Warsaw, Missouri on Lake of the Ozarks, March 9th. And thanks for being with us tonight.
All right, Paul.
Well, I just want to say that there's been issues out there with some fishermen thinking they're know-it-all, and they will try to tell you this or tell you that. And I think that if somebody does that to you, you should check them out first. A lot of the true fishermen will help you if you have questions and won't make you feel like an idiot. Myself and the three other gentlemen here, if you've got a question or something that you'd like to get answered, the only dumb question is the one that's never answered. And we'll always answer the question the best to our ability, and if we can't, then we'll definitely direct you in the right direction. I just wanted to make that a little note. Otherwise, that's pretty well all I've got, Chris.
All right. I would like to just thank everybody here again and the people that are watching the show. You know, it's growing. We want you to watch it. We want you to tell your friends about it that are cat fishermen or women. You know, try to grow the show the best we can. If you have ideas or suggestions or anything like that, you know, send one of us an email. We're going to be working on the website more to make it a little more easily user-friendly, and pretty much if we get anything, you know, every week we might have something new, and you jump in. Like this week, we have the chat on the website, catfishweekly.com, and we'll work on that, try to make that a little better. And if you have any questions or problems with the way that worked this week, let us know. Thanking my sponsors, Lyle and Minn Kota, Humminbird, Dave with Bottom Dwellers, Driftmaster, all the guys there, all the guys here. ICA, they're planned to be a tournament this weekend at Mount Carmel, Illinois. With the river being action stage or above, it's going to be canceled. ICA probably will not have an ICA sanctioned tournament. We may or may not have Powerton, Illinois tournament, just to kind of get together tournament, not necessarily an ICA tournament, but whatever guys decide to show up and do it kind of tournament. That would be this next Saturday, probably 7 in the morning or so. So you can check out ICA or IndianaCatfish.com for information on that, or look it up on Facebook, the Indiana Catfish Association. So I think that's all I have. So I guess on behalf of Catfish Weekly, we wish everybody a good night.